man we know they wear a bada. Tell me, my nigga, what's it gon' G-Wagon, all depend.
Hi, I am now back in Brooklyn. I have a ring light now. This video is going to be a sequel, I guess, or just in addition to the last video, because I did have a few questions in regard to living in New York City. So I'm going to do these periodically. So this is part 2, but it'll be living in New York City parts 1 through whatever. And I'm going to go into more details about some of the questions I had off of the previous one. And like I said on the last video, even on this one, put it in the comments if you have any other questions about living in the city, and I'll do more additional videos on whatever questions you guys are looking to have answered. So let's get started. One of the questions I had was the difference between living in Harlem and living in Brooklyn. Both experiences I liked for different reasons, but we can start with Harlem. How I ended up in Harlem was I had a friend when I first moved up here, when I was preparing to move up here. I had a friend that lived in Harlem, and she was the only person I knew in the city, really. So I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to kind of stay near her because I don't know nobody else. And so what I liked about Harlem was that it's very family oriented. It kind of felt like everyone was kind of looking out for you on your block. There was this one guy who was always outside on the stoop. He told me to call him Uncle Mickey, and he was so cute and old. But just little things like that. He was like, if anybody try to fool with you, just let me know. I was like, okay, Uncle Mickey. There's a lot of restaurants. A lot of little lounges. And it was the first time I was living in a really big city, so everything was walking distance, and I found that amazing because if you're from Naples, nothing is walking distance. So I liked that aspect of it, like that it was in Manhattan. I just liked how much history Harlem has and how you can see it or feel it while you're there. Brooklyn, on the other hand, I moved there last October, and I just felt when I was living in Harlem, I was always going to Brooklyn. So I felt like there was more to do for people my age. There was a lot of little brunch spots and a lot of bars. I mean, Harlem had a lot of bars too, but bars and places where I would go party. And in addition to there being more to do, it's a little bit quieter. Harlem, I felt like, or not even I felt like, there was always people outside all the time, at any time of the day or the night, always someone outside. Whereas at least where I live in now, it's a little bit quieter. Another question I got asked was how I found my apartment. And let me tell you, finding an apartment in the city is about as hard as finding a job. It was such a process. So it started off, I was gonna use a real estate agent. I knew someone who was a real estate agent, but real estate agents here usually charge a brokerage fee, and I didn't really want to pay that. So instead I used apps. The 2 apps that I used in particular were Roomy and Nooklin. I can put in links in the description box. Nooklin was cool for it gave me a lot of options, but I ended up finding my actual apartment on Roomy. But the process basically was about a month before I was supposed to move out, and I would have done it before, but everyone here was like, well, there's really no point in looking for an apartment months out, because if you don't buy it basically that day, you're not gonna get it. And I was like, oh, what are you talking about? Didn't actually understand the process until I actually went through it. And I remember there was one day, before work, I was searching for apartments. This is around let's say 8 a.m. Searching for apartments, and I'm like, okay, cool, this one would be nice. Go to work, do my little work thing, get on my lunch break, check the app again, apartment gone, apartment's not there, someone already took it. I was like, what do you mean? I was so shook. So what I did was I would find a bunch of apartments on the app, And what I tried to do more often was to see if the person showing the apartment had, I guess, like times that they were showing, and I would show up to the apartment at that time and like see if they're like do a little tour, because it was a lot easier than being like, oh, I like this one, and then going on it later and wanting to go look at it and it's gone. So I try to find people that were showing apartments, and I would just pick myself up. I usually did it on the weekends because I work during the week. So on the weekends I would spend like the entire day and go from like house to house to house and just look. Like, I'm just very picky. So like I definitely just wanted more space. I wanted to be in Brooklyn. I wanted to be close to a train. I wanted to have a grocery store near me. I wanted to not have to walk far to get anything that I needed, because I knew it got cold in the city and I had no business walking 10 minutes to anywhere because I wasn't gonna do it. So it was a lot of me trying to find things that were on my little checklist. I wanted a washer dryer in my apartment, because another thing about these apartments out here is that a lot of them don't have washer and dryers in unit. A lot of people like send their clothes to the cleaners, which is fine. I just didn't want to do it. But it's just a really like tedious process because of how quickly everything goes. So you'll think you find something, and if you really don't take it that same day, it'll be gone. Moving, luckily the first time I moved to New York City with like 2 suitcases, a book bag, and a purse. Like, and then eventually I went back to Florida to bring up more stuff, like within those first 3 months. But I didn't have that much stuff, so when I moved it wasn't that difficult. But moving here is hard because I don't have a car up here. So how was I gonna, I'm not taking all my stuff on the train. So luckily I knew someone who had a car, and I was able to move into the apartment. And then once you're moved in, you're pretty much fine. You sign your little lease, you live your life for a year, however long, and yeah. We're gonna call this Neji's Nuggets of Advice. I actually don't like that. I think that's kind of corny. I don't know what we're gonna call this, but I'm about to give you guys some advice. One thing I would say is I feel like I still don't know anything, but I do know more than I did a year and some change ago. I personally do not recommend moving here if you can't afford to live here. This is not to knock anyone to say don't come here. I think the experience is worth it, but do take into consideration that it is very expensive to live here. Again, me personally, I would not be living in nobody's New York City if I didn't have a job, and if that job did not pay me enough to live here. That's me being honest. You wouldn't see me here because what business would I have doing here? And like I said, the experience is completely worth it. As expensive as it is to live here, I highly, if you're looking for a change in environment, something that's really fun for someone that's young, move here if you can. Another, I guess, piece of advice I would give is don't let yourself go rent poor. And by that, I mean live within your means. Take into consideration how much you're paying in rent, because I feel like that is definitely an expense that adds up every month. I personally don't want to live somewhere where like I can't afford to live there. Just, I guess, for the look of it, I don't care. I'm not gonna do it because I'm not going broke for New York City. Another thing I will say, make Google Maps your best friend. Like I said in my last video, I could not figure out the subway, even with Google Maps, but it does help because you really just type in an address and it'll tell you exactly how to get there. So if you can read and you can navigate Google Maps easily, or any Maps app that you have, use it, because it helped me a lot, like going everywhere because I didn't know where I was going. And I guess one of the last things I'll say is that be very aware of your surroundings, that you are still in a large city. So make sure you at least like kind of know where you're at. Try to keep your phone alive. I'm really bad at, my phone is literally always dead or dying. But just like keep into consideration. I know like I also need to do better about it, but like always be around your surroundings, always be aware of like where you are, who's around you. Just be aware that it is a really large city and you need to be mindful. That's about it. with this video. Again, have any other questions that you want answered or things you want to know about living in New York City, I will do these types of videos periodically to give you guys some more insight. Please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on your post notifications, all those things I say at the end of every video. And I'll see you guys on the next video. I really like that I have a ring light now. This is so much better.
Biggie man, we know they wear da. Tell me, my nigga, what's it gon' G-Wagon, all depend. Take your time, ride the whip.